While Sara was walking through the school, she heard a great commotion coming from a nearby room. The first high-pitched shriek made her startle, concerned that one of the younger girls might have injured herself. Sara was a quiet and solemn girl herself, but made no judgment against those whose temperaments led them to cry out loudly when they were in pain. However, the wailing went on and on, more angry than miserable, and the voice was recognized to be Lottie's. Sara came close and began to make out the accompaniment of frustrated adults that had been drowned out by the childish tantrum. "What are you crying for? There's nothing wrong with you!" "I haven't got any... Stop crying, for heaven's sake!" "I haven't got any... You ought to be whipped! You shall be whipped! If you do not hush, you naughty child!" Lottie wailed more loudly than ever. Miss Minchin emerged from the room, her hands pressed to the sides of her head, and paused when she saw Sara lingering outside. "I didn't see anything. I'm just here." "Oh, dear Sara." Miss Minchin's attempt at producing a friendly smile was not at all convincing. Lottie's roars continued unabated, and each burst of sound made Miss Minchin's shoulders twitch. "I stopped because I knew it was Lottie, and I thought perhaps I could make her be quiet. May I try, Miss Minchin?" "If you can quiet that, you are a clever child. Dreadful thing. We will not be happy. We will not be able to keep her." "But you are clever in everything, my dear. I dare say you can manage her. Go in." When Sara entered the room, Lottie was lying upon the floor, screaming and kicking her small, fat legs violently. Sara stood by the howling, furious child for a few moments and looked down at her without saying anything. Then she sat down flat on the floor beside her and waited. Except for Lottie's angry screams, the room was quite quiet. This was a new state of affairs for Lottie, who was accustomed to hearing other people protest and implore, and command and coax her by turns. To find that the only person near her did not seem to mind in the least how she kicked and screamed was unusual, and made it necessary for her to pause her sobbing in order to see what was going on. She opened her tight-shut, streaming eyes to see who this person was, and found that it was only another little girl, but it was the one who owned Emily, and all the nice things. Sara looked at Lottie quite curiously, but said nothing. Lottie sucked in a gulp of air, but the noise she made sounded rather half-hearted. "I haven't any mama." "Neither have I." Lottie blinked rapidly at this unexpected answer. Her legs and arms ceased their kicking and lay flat against the floor. Where's your mama?" "She went to heaven, but I'm sure she comes out sometimes to see me, though I don't see her." "So does yours. Perhaps they can both see us now. Perhaps they are both in this room." "Here?" Lottie sat bolt upright and looked around. Seeing nothing, her face began to scrunch up again. "We can't see the people who live in heaven, even when they come visit us. They travel like wind or sunlight. You can only feel them for a moment if they touch you, and then they're gone. They can go anywhere in an instant, but most of the time they stay up above. Their land is full of lilies, fields and fields of lilies, and when the soft wind blows over them, it wafts the scent of them into the air. And everybody always breathes it, because that soft wind is always blowing. Wind and sunlight, and the streets are always shining. And little children run about in the lily fields, and gather armfuls of them, and laugh and make little wreaths to wear on their heads, or spin cloaks and dresses of soft lily petals. The petals never go dry or brown, but when the children grow tired of them, they toss the petals into the air, and they turn into clouds." Lottie had by now quite forgotten to cry, and was leaning forward, hanging on every word that Sara spoke. "In that shining city, people are never tired, however far they walk. They can float anywhere they like. And there are walls made of pearls and gold all around the city, and they are low enough for the people to go and lean on them and look down onto the earth and smile. From those walls, sometimes they dance down to visit us, other times they whisper beautiful messages into the wind and hope that someday we will hear them. Oh, I want to go there. I don't have any mama here.
Sara saw the danger signal and took hold of Lottie's hand with a coaxing little laugh.
I will be your mama in this school. We'll play that you are my little girl, and Emily shall be your sister. Shall she? Yes. Let us go and tell her. Then I will wash your face and brush your hair, and both of us shall have a little bit more family.
Okay. We gotta spend the sympathy price on Ermengarde, I think. We could use more belief, more knowledge, too. Having made up her mind to befriend the unfortunate Ermengarde, Sara first had to seek her out. Someone like Lavina could be easily tracked from a distance by the sharp sound of her voice or the drumming heels of little girls stampeding away from her presence. Ermengarde, however, kept largely to herself and did not make a great deal of noise. Sara found her at last bundled rather disconsolately in a window seat. Disconsolately. Forthright and fearless, Sara walked over to offer a friendly greeting.
Hello, what is your name?
Her name, of course, was already known, as they had been introduced, however briefly, upon Sara's arrival at the school. This was, however, the traditional thing that little girls always said to each other by way of beginning an acquaintance. The etiquette of children has its own observances.
My name's Ermengarde St. John. Mine is Sara Crewe. Yours is very pretty. It sounds like a storybook. Do you like it?
To understand why she fluttered so nervously, one must recall that a new pupil at school is, for a short time, a very uncertain thing. Cliques and friendships in a small environment can become very firmly set indeed, and leave no room for the excluded, no matter how many years might pass. To the friendless, then, a new student brings with her a breath of hope. Here is someone who is not yet claimed. Perhaps she will like me? And yet, as she is unknown, friendship may not be a possibility. A new girl could equally be snobbish or foolish or mean-spirited. The hope is always adulterated with fear. This pupil was even more noteworthy than most, for rumors about her had filled the school even before her arrival. She had her own carriage and her own maid. Her rooms were like no one else's. Her wardrobe was exquisite. She had the adventure of a voyage from India to discuss. It is no wonder that Ermengarde was somewhat tongue-tied upon being addressed.
I like yours. Your name.
She bit her lip in chagrin at her own stumbling. Sara held out her hand, not as a grand lady might for a gentleman to touch it, but as if greeting someone who was already a friend. After only a moment's hesitation, Ermengarde took it.
I'm very pleased to meet you. Me too. Oh, you should meet Emily as well. Who is Emily? Come to my room and you shall see. All right.
They jumped down from the window seat together and went upstairs. Oh man, window seats, I remember those. Whatever happened to window seats? Those were so cool back in the day. I feel like I hardly ever see them anymore.
Is it true that you have a whole playroom all to yourself?
The ordinary pupils in Miss Minchin's select seminary had only small bedrooms of their own, enough space to sleep and dress and read if they were inclined, but for most activities they must venture out.
Yes, Papa asked Miss Minchin to let me have one.
She opened the door and beckoned Ermengarde inside.
See, there's the sitting room through that door. Oh, it is beautiful. Sometimes when I am playing, I make up stories about the things that I'm doing and tell them to myself, and I don't like people to hear me. It spoils it if I think people might listen. Does that sound too selfish of me? I do tell stories for others as well. It is only that some of stories, particularly new ones, that I'm only just making up are private. They're too delicate to be shared.
Ermengarde had paused, her eyes wide.
You make them up? How can you do that? Why, anyone can make things up. Have you ever tried? But where do the stories come from?
Inside my head.
Did you ever imagine things that might happen that haven't? You must have dreams when you sleep, at least.
Ermengarde shook her head, her braids wobbling.
I try not to think about things like that. They are too confusing. I try to think only about what I am supposed to be learning at the school. I try very hard, but it doesn't seem to help.
Sara found the concept of a girl with no imagination at all too difficult to grasp.
Sure, you must read storybooks about things that aren't real. Oh no, I hate to read.
Seeing out this response disappointed Sara, she fished for a better explanation.
I don't read well. I can't conjure the words that run together, and it's so hard to remember anything that I read in a book. I meant to read a great many books for Miss Minchin's classes, but I get them all mixed up.
I don't know, could you be like undiagnosed dyslexic, maybe?
When we read poems after history, I thought that Christabel was the daughter of the King of Spain. I don't want to read anything more than I absolutely must. I'll only make a muddle of it. And if I tried to make up a story, then how would I remember what is real and what wasn't? But it's good that you can. What if you read stories about fairies or dragons? Sure, you wouldn't get those confused with things at school. But I might. You are very like a fairy, and you are here at school? I'm sorry, I'm very dull. And slow. Everyone says so. I understand if you do not wish to spend any more time with me.
Sara patted Ermengarde on the shoulder in a companionable fashion.
Everyone is different. Everyone is different. I'm only sorry that it means I cannot share my favorite books with you.
Which I have a lot of, by the way. Have you seen my shelves over there? There's probably more books than I own in real life.
I have so many favorites that I love, and I wish that you could love them too.
And, like, for clarification, because this is not my bookshelf back here. I've got a different one elsewhere. But, like, I own enough books where I kind of get guilty of it. Of like, yeah, I probably shouldn't spend this much money on buying books. Even so, I think she's got me beat with that shelf. Which, again, maybe that just goes to show how unimpressive my collection is, but I don't know.
Oh, I have an idea. Perhaps if I read them to you, then you would not get them confused with other books. I don't know.
Hesitantly, she smiled.
But I could try? Good.
Alright, what week are we on? I feel like it's been a while.
Girls, gather round if you please. We'll be welcoming a special dance instructor today who is visiting us from France. She will be leading you in exercises to increase your grace and posture. Go and change into your leotard-style dancing costumes.
She swept off to her office, and the girls clustered eagerly together.
A special dance instructor? Do you say she might be from the Ballet de l'Opéra de Paris? The Ballet of Paris? The Paris Opera Ballet, of course. The absolute birthplace of romantic ballet, and they go all the way back to the court of the Sun King.
Sun King. Which one is that? Sun King. Louis the 15th? 18th? One of the Louis, I think. I think Louis the 15th. 16th, maybe? One of the teenth. Oh. Granted, I understand saying one of the Louis is like... it doesn't really narrow it down. It's like you're talking about German Kaisers and you're like, oh, it's one of the Wilhelms.
I'm not fond of ballet as you are. No one is as fond of ballet as Jessie is. It is a sickness within her. I wonder if there really is a sickness that could make you like one thing or another person more than another. And if there were, would anyone wish to be cured?
Well, I mean, there was a dancing plague that went through Europe for a bit. Real thing, not a joke, by the way. That was actually a historical event that happened. It was like a whole thing. Such things you imagine.
In any event, it might not be a ballet. She is a special instructor, after all. Perhaps we permitted her act as social dances. Perhaps even the waltz. My father says the waltz is shocking.
Shocking? The waltz? Waltz, that's like... Like that's... Right? I mean, I guess if I was like an extremely conservative Englishman from the 19th century, maybe I could see where you're coming from. A little scandalous. They touch each other in the dance. Oh my goodness.
Watching you attempt to perform it, no doubt would be. If we are allowed to the waltz, I will be dancing with Jessie. Oh. Perhaps we better go and get our costumes. Hermengard is very sensible.
It took only a little praise. It took only as little praise as that to make poor Miss St. John look pleased. The dancing lessons did not progress quite as anyone had expected. That's cute.
I do not see how this can be described as dancing.
Oh, we're stretching!
It is preparation for dancing. We are learning to stretch and relax our bodies so that we can move more beautifully. It's French! Sarah, is this the way things are usually done in France?
Why would I know? I'm not from France! I've got French heritage, but I grew up in India. With an English society. With an English dad.
I have never asked Mariette about whether she took dancing lessons. I want to walk on my hands! Leave your hands on the floor long enough and Ermengarde will trot on them for you. Jessie, be careful, you're tickling me. The instructor said it was imperative that we rub deeply to warm our muscles. To speak of muscle upon a lady is very unseemly. Your hands are very strong, Ermengarde. Did I hurt you? No, not a bit. It feels nice. It is a little like having my hair brushed. Makes me feel like a cat being petted. I want to be a cat. I want to dance like a cat. Cats don't dance. They dance at the court of the King of Cats. How do they dance, Sarah? Do they stand on their hind legs? Well, girls, cease chattering and get ready for your lessons. Yes, Miss Minchin.
Okay. We need more belief and more knowledge, so we'll probably read a book. What can help with belief the most? Writing in the diary seems to be the best thing for that. I don't need more artistry. We play with toys. That's more likely than not to give us at least one vigor. I don't know. We don't really need vigor right now, though, do we? Maybe just read another book. I guess we could refill our sympathy bit, too. Have a tea party. Get some more grace. And belief is zeroed out, so that probably is what we want to focus on. Writing the diary? Okay, not much. Okay, that's good. That's about our best case scenario, I think. Why am I getting so little of reading? Okay, that's not bad. Okay. 3 knowledge, 2 artistry, 1 grace, 3 sympathy, 3 belief. I do wonder, so we're in week 7. I wonder if the stakes in this game is going to ever get any higher than just, like, make friends with your fellow classmates. I guess there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. Just more of like a slice of life type of game. But I mean, considering how Long Live the Queen was all about like court intrigue and death and murder, I'm expecting a little more stakes, but we'll see. We'll see.
Are you ill, ma petite? Yes, I'm only feeling a little tired. The days have been growing warmer, but the air never feels the same way it did in India. I suppose Ermengarde is right, and it is the smell of London. Even if I cannot distinguish one scent above the others, that would mean London. It must always be there. As I am. Bon courage, mademoiselle. I have something here which will brighten your day. A letter from Papa! Oh, merci! Mariette, merci! Beyakou! She did not open it at once, but pressed the envelope to her chest. My papa sent this. It has been in his hands. If letter can come from his hands to mine, then we are never so far apart.
At last she took out the paper and began to read. My dear little missus, here I am once again in Bombay. I have little to tell you of my adventures, for no sooner did I reach my home than I began thinking of you and putting pen to paper. Therefore I have seen little since I left you other than ships, and you remember those. Sarah closed her eyes and let herself remember the voyage from India. The big ship, the Lascars passing silently to and fro on it, the children playing about on the hot deck. There had been women on board, the wives of some young officers who had invited Sarah to take tea with them, and delighted in making her speak her unusual thoughts. But most importantly, there had been her papa. I felt it important to write to you at once, so that you would not worry about your poor old papa, all alone on the ocean. All is well. I am returned, and my life here is remarkably unchanged in my absence. Now, if it is your duty to let me know all that has happened since I left you, all your new friends you have made, the books you have read, and the sights you have seen in London. Do you remember Colonel Grange and his little girl, Isabel? In a year she will be old enough that she must leave for England as well. I'm relying on your advice to tell her what to expect in her schooling. Give my regards to Emily and any companions she may have acquired. Yours always, your loving papa. Sarah held the letter in her hands, already beginning to imagine the many things she might write in response.
I love you too, Papa.
Okay. So this would be a good, like, stats sync. We could progress the Lavina thing. I want to get the Mariette relations events going, at least a bit. I don't think we necessarily want all our eggs in one basket relationship-wise, and Mariette seems fun. And also, it's becoming clear to me that it seems unlike we're going to be in a situation it's like, oh, we can't afford anything. We need the free one. So, might be mistaken in that, but so far things are going pretty smoothly.
Mariette, is it alright if I ask you a few questions about yourself? Bonjour, mademoiselle. What do you wish to know? What is your family name? Miss Minchin did not say. Dumas, mademoiselle. Oh, are you a relative of the great French writer, the author of The Three Musketeers?
Marriott chuckled kindly.
No, mademoiselle. Well, not in a close way. I am not. There are many with the name of Dumas, and I cannot know what connections there are between all people. Do you not love your cousins and your cousins' cousins and all who bear the name of Crewe?
I don't know anyone else named Crewe except for myself and Papa. It's a pretty uncommon name, honestly.
So you see, I cannot say who my relatives may be at some distance.
Sara nodded. Where in France do you come from?
I grew up in Le Minchin. You may have heard of the Le Minchin box, the porcelain.
Sara shook her head.
Ah, well, they were famous once. Perhaps they will be again. For now, like much of Le Minchin, they have faded.
What is it like there?
What is it like anywhere? It is a city, not so large as Paris or London, no.
Is it near Paris?
No, pas très proche. It is in the south. You must rely on the railways to travel between them, or trains lead to Paris.
Sara tried to picture it. She did not know Limonges, but if it was in the south, then it must be warm and green, surely. She'd seen paintings of France. Stone houses, arches and bridges, rolling green hills, hanging vines and sunlight. Always sunlight, not the fogs of London. It must be lovely.
As you say, mademoiselle.
How did you come to take this position? What I mean to say is, my papa and I did not have time to visit France, and I did not meet you until you came here. Did you meet Papa somewhere else?
No, we have never met in the flesh and blood. Your papa, he is a gentleman and knows many other gentlemen in fine cities like Paris. When it happened that he wished to appoint a maid, he wrote to his Paris gentleman to describe you. And I have a cousin who works for this Paris gentleman, and he thought of me, and so the arrangements were made. And I am glad that they were.
Sara smiled. The gentle warmth of Marriott's regard was very comforting for a little girl, one who had been separated from her family and made to live in a far-off place. It was true that Marriott was, for the most part, only another stranger, like any other in Miss Minchin's seminary. They were only just beginning to know each other. And yet, Marriott was not simply a stranger who might come and go like the students. She was Sara's maid, the beginnings of her very own household. She might in time be the closest thing to family.
I wonder at the friend my papa has in Paris. I wonder if he ever knew my mother.
Well, very well might have, actually. The marriage might be how he has connections in France.
Hey, I think I hear Sara coming. Quick, step aside, don't let her see us.
But why?
Shh.
Lavina took hold of her friend's shoulders and pushed her back against the wall.
Wait a moment. There, she's gone.
Why are we avoiding Sara?
Ever since she got that letter, it's been nothing but India this and India that. I have to hear her say that word again. I'm afraid my hair will fly right off my head, rather.
I like her stories. You know her father has faced down a tiger. He shot the one whose skin Sara has in her room. That's crazy. That's why she likes it so much. She lies on it and strokes its head and talks to it as if it were a cat. I guess come to think of it, it's a bit macabre that she talks to her father's murder victims. But, hey, it's a tiger, so I guess it's fine.
That is simply disgusting. If it were a cat, it would be the one that he had killed. What next? Will she drown Tybalt and then have him stuffed for a pillow?
I don't think it's the same thing at all. Sara says the tiger was attacking an outpost, and he had to shoot it.
Sara tells stories, you know that.
Well, I think her father sounds very interesting, and so does India.
It's a filthy, disgusting place rank with foul humors, and don't you forget it. Come on now.
Alright. Lavina led, and Jessie followed. Okay. We could use more belief. And writing the diary is a decent way to get belief. I can't believe we haven't had artistry come up with something we need. Like, ever. Yeah, I mean, maybe we do the double writing diary here. Reading a book once makes sense for knowledge's sake. I mean, we don't really need 3 hearts for sympathy. And you might just do a triple writing diary. And I don't know, go for a walk maybe? No, that's gonna be dumb. And you can use patience, but I mean, patience comes from diary writing too. I mean, I think this actually makes the most sense. It's kind of boring doing the same thing 4 days of the week, but like a lot of our other stats don't really need the help right now. Beliefs are really our only weak stats. Well, that and patience. But writing the diary is the best way to get patience too. Not that it seems like that's actually gonna happen. Same exact thing every single time? Come on. That's not that bad. It's 7 knowledge, which you can only get like 3 of, 4 artistry, and 4 belief. That's fine, but some patience would have been nice. Ermengarde, what do you have there? A new book? The plump girl sighed, showing none of the delight Sara would have found in such a possession. My father sent it to me to be enriching. I don't see how books have made me any richer so far. May I see it? She took the volume from Ermengarde's hands and examined the gold lettering on the cover. Poems Antiques by Le Comte de Lisle. A book of French poetry! Sarah's excitement only deepened the other girl's dismay. Would you like me to read it with you? I'm certain that if... What's this? Oh, Sara, you have a new book, French poetry. Very improving. As long as it isn't one of those shocking new decadent poets, a proper lady should not read such works. I'm sure it's nothing of the sort. What would you know about it? I was speaking to Sara. Actually, the book belongs to Ermengarde. What? Don't be silly. She can't even read it. Ermengarde grabbed the book. It's mine. She turned and walked away. You ought not to tease her so. I didn't say anything that isn't true. What good is a book of French poetry to someone like her? Such a waste. She'll probably never even open it. She should have simply given it to you. Admit it, you know that I'm right. You may be right, but it was a gift from her father. I'm sure she'll treasure it. Not every girl is as devoted to her father as you seem to be, Sara Crewe.